There is a stillness, a sacred knowing that waits patiently behind your thoughts. It does not strive, it does not argue, and it does not beg. It simply is. This presence, this quiet power, is what you call God, and to put everything in God's hand is to finally understand that what you have been seeking through effort is already held in completion by grace. To put everything in God's hand is not to abandon your dreams, but to place them in the most capable care. It is to say, I no longer carry this burden. I no longer chase what is mine. I simply dwell in the end, in the fulfilled state, and trust the unseen hand that governs all things. You must realize your imagination is sacred. It is not mere fantasy. It is the language through which God speaks. The moment you imagine a desire fulfilled and feel its truth as though it were now, that is the moment you've handed it over to the Creator within. You do not need to know how it will come. You do not need to force doors open. The oak tree does not beg the sun to rise. It simply trusts its growth is assured. In the same way, your job is to plant the seed in your imagination and let God water it with divine timing. Let go of worry. Let go of effort that stems from fear. Trust that the hand which shaped the stars also shapes your destiny. When you feel fear, remind yourself, this is not mine to figure out. This is God's to finish. And in that surrender, you gain everything. Do not mistake passivity for powerlessness. To rest in faith is the greatest act of courage. The world may urge you to hustle, to chase, to prove. But the soul whispers, be still and know. Put your dreams, your needs, your relationships, your finances, all of it in God's hand. Not with desperation, but with confidence. Walk as though it is done, speak as though it is yours, and feel as though you already have it. Because once you put it in God's hand, it is. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving over to the higher power within. And that distinction changes everything. Most people hear the word surrender and immediately associate it with weakness, with quitting, or with admitting defeat. But true surrender is the most courageous act a person can perform. It is not about walking away from your desire. It is about walking deeper into faith. It is about knowing, beyond reason and evidence, that the power that breathed life into you did not do so to abandon you. When you surrender, you are not discarding your dream. You are not denying your hope. You are not turning your back on your future. You are placing it gently, trustingly, into the hands of the infinite intelligence that already knows the way. It is the difference between rowing upstream with all your might, exhausted and disheartened, versus laying down the oar and allowing the current to take you where you were meant to go. This higher power within you does not require your struggle to bring forth what you desire. It requires your permission. It requires your trust. The mind, trained by the world, believes it must force everything into being. It believes it must manipulate, control, calculate, and constantly do to achieve anything worthwhile. But the soul knows. The soul understands that all things are already finished, that every possibility already exists, that the path to your highest joy is not something you build with effort, but something you uncover through faith. To surrender is to recognize that your personal will is limited, but divine will is boundless. And when you align with that divine will, not by pleading, but by assuming, it works on your behalf. You stop fighting life. and start flowing with it. You stop doubting the outcome and start dwelling in the end result. The very act of letting go allows the unseen forces of life to begin their silent orchestration. Imagine for a moment holding tightly onto something in your hand. Your grip is clenched. Your knuckles are white. Your whole body is tense. That is how many live, with clenched hearts and anxious thoughts, afraid that if they loosen their grip even for a moment, everything will fall apart. But here is the truth. Life flows when you open your hand. When you stop trying to make it happen and instead trust that it is happening right now in the invisible, because you dare to believe. When you surrender, you shift from fear to faith, from lack to fulfillment, from striving to resting. Not because you have no power, but because you finally recognize where your true power comes from. It was never from control. It was always from connection. When you are connected to the source of all life, there is nothing to fear. What is for you cannot miss you. What is yours spiritually must reveal itself physically once you surrender the need to chase it. Surrender is a sacred invitation. It says to the universe, I trust you. I know you have heard me. I know my desire was planted not to torment me, but to be fulfilled through me. I do not need to worry. I do not need to fix. I do not need to beg. I only need to remain in the state of having and let the divine hand take care of the details. This is not passivity. It is spiritual mastery. The strongest soul is the one who knows when to act and when to release, who knows when to speak and when to rest in silence, and above all, who knows that surrender is not the end of a journey. It is the beginning of miracles. Imagination is the bridge between your desire and its fulfillment. Entrust it to the divine. Within you lies a sacred power that most ignore, dismiss, or misunderstand. This power is not physical. It does not reside in your hands or in your voice. It resides in your inner world, your imagination. And yet this invisible faculty shapes the very reality you walk through. It is not fantasy. It is not make-believe. It is creation in its purest form. Everything you see in the world, every structure, invention, work of art, every achievement was once a seed planted in someone's imagination. That's how powerful it is. It is the first cause, the original source, the blueprint from which the material world is built. And when you understand that your imagination is a sacred bridge, not merely a playground of the mind, everything changes. Desire alone is not enough. Wanting something is not enough. It is only when you dare to see it, to feel it, to inhabit it in your imagination as though it were real, that you begin the true process of manifestation. The mistake most make is believing they must do everything with physical effort. They ignore the inner world and trust only what they can see with their eyes and touch with their hands. But the eyes and hands are instruments. They are not the source. The source is invisible. The origin is unseen. And imagination is how you reach it. When you imagine something clearly and feel it deeply, you impress it upon the divine mind within. You hand it over, not with doubt, not with questions, but with the quiet confidence of one who knows it is already done. You must understand, you were never meant to figure everything out with logic. The rational mind is limited. It operates only by past experiences and current senses. But imagination is limitless. It exists outside of time. It can take you to the end result before one single thing changes in your world. And when you dwell in the end, in the fulfilled state, you bring the future into the now. This is not illusion, it is creation. To see yourself as already healthy, already loved, already successful, already free, is to walk the bridge before the path appears under your feet. And you do not walk alone. Once you entrust this vision to the divine, meaning once you accept it as true within, you activate unseen forces. Doors open, people shift, events move, not because you pushed, but because you believe. Most people abandon the power of imagination too soon. They start to picture the life they want, but then quickly return to worrying, doubting, fearing. They allow the evidence of the senses to erase the truth they briefly held within. But to imagine is to plant a seed, and once it is planted, it must be watered, not with doubt, but with trust. You water it by revisiting it, by feeling it, by thanking the divine for it before. You must understand how sacred your inner world is. Every thought, every image, every scene you accept as true becomes part of your spiritual signature. And what you persist in imagining, you eventually experience. This is not hope. It is law. The law of consciousness. The law of becoming. So the invitation is this. Close your eyes. Enter that silent space within. Picture the life you want, not as something distant, but as something already real. Walk in it. Feel it, touch it, speak from it. And when you rise, do not worry about how it will come. That part is not yours. Your role is to imagine and deliver. Imagination is not a tool of escape. It is the gateway of transformation. It is the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. Entrust it to the divine, and watch your life unfold in ways that logic could never explain. Your true self is not separate from God. You're the vessel through which God operates. This is not just a comforting idea. It is the eternal truth of your being. You were not created to live apart from the divine, struggling on your own, praying to a distant power that may or may not hear you. You were created as an extension of that power. The life of God breathes through you, thinks through you, speaks through you. You are not merely human trying to reach God. You are God awareness, clothed in human form. This truth does not elevate the ego, it dissolves it. It silences the noise of striving and reminds you that all you seek is already within you. You are not empty, searching for fullness. You are already full, simply waking up to what has always been true. The moment you grasp this, everything in your life begins to change, not because your outer world shifts first, but because your perception does. To believe you are separate from God is the root of all fear. It is the birthplace of anxiety, desperation, and lack. It is what causes people to plead, to beg, to chase after peace that seems just out of reach. But when you know that God is not somewhere far away but closer than your breath, you stop seeking. You start expressing. You stop begging for answers and start trusting that the answers move through you. You are not meant to live life hoping that something good might happen. You are meant to realize that the very source of goodness lives in you. Every time you imagine with faith, speak with conviction, or feel something as already real, it is not you acting alone. It is God acting as you. You are the channel, the vessel, the doorway through which the infinite enters the finite world. But to be that vessel, you must clear the noise. You must strip away the layers of doubt and limitation that the world has placed upon you. The world will try to tell you that you are small, broken, and lacking. But the truth is, you are divine substance. You are awareness itself. You are not separate from the Creator. You are its expression. Look at the seed and the tree. The seed is small, quiet, unnoticed, but within it is the potential of something vast and powerful. You too hold within you the seed of all that God is: love, abundance, healing, wisdom, peace. They are not things you need to go find. They are things you need to remember. And the way you remember is by turning inward. Stop waiting for signs. You are the sign. Stop waiting for permission. You are the authority. When you choose to think in alignment with love instead of fear, you become the mirror of God. When you choose to imagine the best, speak with grace, and walk with faith, you become the expression of God in form. This is not arrogance. It is humility at the highest level, to surrender the illusion of separateness and allow your life to be used by something greater. When you say, "I and the Father are one," you are not claiming superiority. You are returning to truth. You are affirming that you no longer operate from the mind of the world, but from the mind of spirit. Every day becomes holy. Every thought becomes sacred. Every moment becomes a chance to let God move through you, not by force, but by allowing. Let yourself be the vessel. Let yourself be the expression. Let go of the old story that says you're alone, and step into the story that's always been written. You and God are not two. There is only one, and that one is living its life in and through you. What you feel is real in the unseen. You place gently in the hands of the eternal. This is the sacred art of creation, not by force, not by struggle, but by inner conviction and quiet surrender. The world will tell you that what is unseen is uncertain, that what you cannot prove with your senses is not real, but the truth is exactly the opposite. What you feel deeply in the stillness of your being, in the silence of your imagination, is more powerful than anything you can grasp with your hands. You do not manifest by hoping. You do not create by begging. You do so by feeling, deeply and truly, as if the unseen were already here. The moment you dare to feel something is real before your eyes can confirm it, you have touched the realm of the eternal. This is not fantasy. It is faith. Faith is not merely believing something might happen one day. Faith is the knowing that what you have felt, what you have accepted as true within, is already yours. And once you feel it, once you experience the fullness of that unseen reality within, you don't chase it. You don't question it. You don't fight for it. You release it. You place it gently, confidently, into the hands of the eternal presence within you, and you rest. You allow it to unfold in its perfect time and way. You no longer carry the weight of how or when, because those are not your responsibilities. Your only task is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to walk in that inner assurance until the outer world aligns with what you already know to be true. There is something sacred about feeling without seeing. It is the highest form of trust. It says to the infinite, I believe you, I know you, I feel you, and that is enough. When you move through life in this way, your heart is no longer troubled by appearances. The world may offer delay, but you no longer call it denial. You know that once a thing is accepted within, it begins to take shape without. Everything in the material world is downstream. What you see, hear, and touch is the echo, not the origin. The origin is always within. And when you claim something as yours in the unseen, when you dwell in the state of already having, you shift your identity. You begin to live from that higher state of consciousness. And the eternal responds, not because it was ever withholding from you, but because you finally became aligned with what you were asking for. Imagine a child giving their parent a drawing, something precious to them. They hand it over, not with fear, but with complete trust that the parent will receive it, keep it safe, honor its value. In the same way, when you place your desire into the hands of the Eternal, you are not abandoning it, you are entrusting it. You are saying, I have done my part, now I let the higher intelligence do what only it can do. And this trust, this surrender, is not weakness. It is the highest strength. It is knowing who you are and what you are connected to. It is no longer needing outer proof to feel inner peace. It is allowing the rhythm of divine timing to take over. So do not rush. Do not panic. Do not keep digging up your seed to see if it has sprouted. Feel it has done. Be still. Let the unseen do its perfect work. What you have planted in faith, you will harvest in joy. What you have felt is real, you have handed to the Eternal. And the Eternal never forgets, never delays, and never fails. Anxiety is a signal that you are trying to do with force what must be done in faith. It is the unease that arises when the mind assumes control over what the spirit was always meant to carry. When you feel anxious, it is not simply a reaction to circumstances. It is a deep inner alarm, reminding you that you have stepped out of alignment. You have begun to lean on effort, on logic, on human limitation, instead of resting in the infinite ease of divine order. Force is rooted in fear. It believes that if you don't act fast enough, hard enough, something will fall apart. It clings, it grabs, it demands. Faith, on the other hand, is rooted in knowing. It moves from a calm inner assurance that what is for you cannot miss you. It does not rush, it does not panic. It trusts the unseen more than it fears the visible. Anxiety cannot exist in the presence of that kind of faith. So when anxiety comes, pause. Do not fight it, but listen. It is trying to tell you something sacred. It is revealing to you the very place where you have stopped trusting. It's pointing to the area in your life where you've taken the burden from the divine and placed it on your own shoulders. You are not meant to carry the how, the when, or the details of unfolding. Your task is to imagine, to feel, to believe, and then to release. To try to force an outcome is to forget who you are. You are not a creature desperate to survive. You are the consciousness that shapes worlds. You were never meant to operate by fear-based reaction. You are designed to move in quiet, deliberate faith. You are meant to live as one who knows that every desire comes with its own path to fulfillment. You do not have to create the path. You only need to align with the state of being that matches what you've asked for. Imagine a person trying to open a flower by prying it apart with their hands. In their desperation to see it bloom, they ruin its beauty. But the flower opens on its own, in the warmth of light, with no force, no worry. So it is with your desires. They do not need your panic, they need your presence. They need you to be still long enough to allow what you've planted in spirit to blossom in time. The mind will scream that nothing is happening. The ego will say you must do more, push harder, prove your worth. But faith whispers, be still. It is already done. And if you can trust that whisper more than the world's noise, you will walk in peace, even before the evidence arrives. Understand this. Your anxiety does not mean you are weak. It means you care. It means you long for something so deeply that your soul aches in the waiting. But care does not require control. Love does not require grasping. You can hold the vision, feel the joy, imagine the best, and then step back and let the divine orchestrate it. If the bird never worries about its next flight, if the stars do not stress about shining, why must you? Are you not more than they? You are connected to the source of all that is good, all that is possible, and that source does not operate in panic. It operates in peace. So breathe. Loosen your grip. Stop trying to force what must be received. Let anxiety remind you not that you are off track, but that it is time to return to the truth, to trust again, to feel again, to walk by faith, not sight. What you desire is already yours in the unseen. And when you rest in that knowing, you no longer chase, it comes to you. When you release control, the power that created the universe takes over your affairs. This is not poetic metaphor, it is spiritual law. The same intelligence that causes the stars to burn, the planets to orbit, the tides to rise and fall, is not separate from you. It lives in you, breathes through you, and waits for your surrender. But it does not force its way in. It waits until you loosen your grip, until you stop trying to manipulate the outer and allow the inner to lead. Control is the illusion that you must hold everything together. It's the lie whispered by fear, convincing you that if you don't push, strive, and overthink, life will fall apart. But look at nature. Does the tree force itself to grow? Does the moon wrestle to reflect the sun? All things flourish when they are aligned, not when they are controlled. You are not created to live in resistance. You are made to live in harmony with divine order. The truth is, the tighter you hold, the more things slip through your fingers. The more you obsess over how and when, the further you move from the natural flow of manifestation. It's not because the universe is withholding. It's because your grip has become a barrier. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the sacred act of turning your burdens over to something far greater than your limited understanding. You may think letting go means doing nothing, but that is not true. Letting go means doing the inner work, feeling the reality of your desire, aligning with its vibration, trusting that the unseen is working in your favor. It means stepping into the day with calm confidence, acting when inspired, and resting when prompted. It is living in the rhythm of grace instead of the chaos of control. When you surrender, you stop asking life to prove itself to you and begin responding as if what you desire is already done. You change your posture from one of worry to one of expectation. You stop trying to convince the world and start living as though the answer is already on its way. Because it is. The moment you imagined it, it was created in the unseen. Your surrender is what allows it to unfold into form. The universe does not need your stress. It doesn't respond to panic. It responds to peace. It aligns with the one who trusts. When you let go, when you release control, you say to the divine, I know you've got this. And in that sacred trust, you create space. Space for miracles, space for better timing, space for outcomes more beautiful than your limited plans could ever conceive. This is the paradox. The more you try to force life, the more it resists. The moment you stop forcing, it begins to move. Just like water, the flow of life moves best when unblocked. And what blocks it? Fear, doubt, control. But what opens it wide? Faith, joy, ease. You do not have to figure it all out. You are not the architect of every detail. You are the dreamer, the feeler, the vessel. Your job is to feel it real, to move as though it is done, and to trust the rest to the infinite. And once you do that, once you truly surrender, doors open, people appear, circumstances align. You are no longer operating on your own strength. You are carried by a force that never tires, never sleeps, and never forgets what you asked for. So release control, not because you've given up, but because you finally remembered who is really in charge. You are not alone. You never were. Let go, and let the one who designed galaxies take care of your next step. When you release control, the power that created the universe begins to move in ways that leave no doubt. It was never just you. When you finally place everything in God's hands, you do not lose power, you awaken to it. You stop forcing and you start flowing. You begin to understand that true strength is not found in control, but in surrender. That your imagination is not fantasy, but the sacred bridge between the unseen and the seen. That the anxiety you feel is not your enemy, but your reminder to return to faith. You realize you were never separate from the source. You were never meant to carry it all. You were meant to trust, to feel, and to receive. The moment you let go, divine power moves. It orchestrates, aligns, and delivers what no effort could ever accomplish. This is not passivity. It is partnership with the infinite. Read deeper. Hold your vision closer. And rest in the knowing that the same presence that designed the stars is now guiding your path. Thank you for listening. May you walk in peace, trust in the unseen, and remember always, you are never alone.